Alright, so I am bringing 2,000 points of Dark Angels, or more specifically 1,995 points. I'm bringing mostly Terminators, so how this works is a Vanguard detachment is turned into a Deathwing detachment, which allows all the Inner Circle units to be in a single squad. So long as they are Inner Circle, they'll have no problem. If any specialized units are brought in, you have to pay a certain amount of points to bring them in. And then I have a patrol for other stuff, so I'll mention more focus on how this is organized on paper. So first, my Warlord, Azrael, because he gives a lot of good buffs and he's Inner Circle. He is in the Deathwing detachment, and in the Patrol detachment we have Ezekiel. He is a very powerful Psyker, 2-up armor save, great strength. He gives +1 attack to all guys who are nearby him, Book of Salvation stuff. And then in the Patrol detachment I have an Imperial Assassin, the Evasaur Assassin. Assassins can only be brought in like Patrol or Battalion, I think, if your Warlord is from the Imperium. However, if you only bring one, for 2 CP you can, after you see your opponent and stuff, like before deployment and stuff, you can swap him out for any of the other assassins to counter your opponent. Costs 2 CP, is a very interesting one, but Evasaur is always a good way to go because he's very, very powerful. It's like in all cases. Very rarely do any of the other assassins become more useful to him. They're more specialized. And then on for troops in the patrol is a unit of infiltrators. This unit's very expensive, but they're max squads, so they'll be able to be broken up into 2 combat squads. So for 10, the problem with Deathwing is that I get surrounded a lot easily, and I need to really protect my home objective. So these guys are specifically for keeping me safe from being flanked or opponents coming in the back. So they'll split up into 2 squads, and the Sergeant squad will have the Helix Gauntlet, which will allow me to ignore the first damage taken per turn. And then over to the Elites, which is broken up a bit. So the Ravenwing, actually no wait, yeah. So the Ravenwing Champion and all these Terminators are in the Vanguard squad. So 3 units of Deathwing Terminators. And so they all have, they're all squads. They have their Sergeant, they have Assault Cannon and Chain Fists, and one guy has a Chain Fist, it's marked differently. And the same with the other squad, and then the final squad is pretty much the same, just half. So these 2 big squads will break down into combat squads, so I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squads of Terminators running around. And then the Ravenwing Champion, he has the Blade of Triumph as his relic, so because of all the new changes to Armor Contempt, I need him to be a stronger swordsman, so damage 3, AP -3. So he has Martial Superiority, Exquisite Swordsman, Skillful Peril. Basically, this guy has reroll charges, -1 to hit in melee, +1 attack and to wound. Right. Yeah. He has +1 attack and strength on turns he charges or heroically intervenes, which he can heroically intervene up to 6. And I think he has +1 to wound against characters, and he always fights first. And then the Ravenwing Apothecary is actually in the Patrol detachment as an elite. And so this one is a Chief Apothecary, Selfless Healer, so he'll be going around restoring my Terminators, and he'll be just like a fast medic. He's one of the best Apothecaries in the game because of his speed. And then we have a Venerable Dreadnought to give me some anti-tank punching. Unfortunately, I could not afford much points, so he's in the Patrol detachment. This is important to note because if he was in the Vanguard detachment, I'd have to pay an extra 15 points to have him in there. So by having him at the Patrol detachment, I save 15 points, which still isn't enough to give him a last cannon, so multi-melt it is. So unfortunately, my army is very short-ranged. That might be a problem, or I might just outlast my opponent. So that is one of the negatives, though. Maybe go with some missile launchers next time, but it's been a while since I played these guys, so I'm a bit rusty. So that is 2,000 points of Dark Angels.
Alright, you guys, so for Aeldar, I'm playing 2,000 points of Ulthway. Now, they are a Guardian Heavy Craft world as far as the lore goes, so I thought I would give that a go. They also have a few buffs and stuff for them, and stratagem, so, you know. I also couldn't not play them without Eldrad, so shock surprise, he's the Warlord. Eldrad has Will of Asuryan, Executioner, and Fortune. He actually, unlike the last book, he doesn't have any buffs to casting. He just has a lot of, I say casting, but to psychic phase. He just has an additional psychic power. To his left is the Farseer with the Ulthway relic, which is the Ghost Helm of Alishazir. Sounds very genie-like. Basically gives him an additional psychic power, and on an unmodified result of 9, that psychic power can't be denied. And he has Guide, Doom, and Ghost Walk, adding 2 inches to charge rolls, which I think might be interesting. And then on the right, this third Farseer here is just a standard Farseer. She has Guide and Fateful Divergence, which basically, if it goes off, gives me a command point every psychic phase. I thought I would try that. That could be interesting. Behind them are a series of Seer Councils, because again, Ulthway, big on Psychers. So the ones here have Embolden, Horrify, and Protect Jinx. So basically they can help with saves. They can also help with Fight First, and they do Fight Last and that kind of stuff. The ones behind Eldrad are, they have Conceal and Reveal, so basically they help with cover saves. And they also use the stratagem for, if I can find it somewhere, Seer Council. So they act as bodyguards to Eldrad, so hopefully he will get shot less. And then the Warlocks to the left over here have Enhanced Drain and Empower and Enervate. Basically just a bunch of combat buffs, which will hopefully be useful. And that is my, I guess the Warlock, oh, actually the Warlocks are non-org chart, because for each Farseer I can take one Warlock or Seer Council for each Farseer, so I have 3. Because there is a heck of a stratagem that requires Farseers, so I thought I would give it a go. Directly behind them is the troop section. You will notice a tremendous amount of Guardians, with 1 squad of Storm Guardians with 2 Aeldari Power Swords, so that'll be interesting. The rest of the squads are squads of 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 Guardians. I think most of them, I think there's one that's 10 in the back there. But so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 squads of just Guardians with Shuriken Catapults and Shuriken Cannons. Just raw shots, really. 1 squad of Rangers for just some mobility and a little bit of sniping. I'm not counting on it, but, you know, they're good for, like, objectives and stuff. Moving on to my very tiny elite section, I have a squad, full squad of Howling Banshees. Now, the Exarch does have Mirror Swords and the Crone Scream, so the Exarch relic for the Howling Banshees. And she has the Graceful Avoidance, so the whole squad has a 4-up invul, which is nice. I'm hoping that that helps them somehow stay alive. It's not necessarily what they're known for, so... Anyway, moving on. Heavy supports, there we go. I have a squad of D cannons. They just recently got nerfed, so when they shoot without line of sight, it's -1 to their ballistic skill. And they're not core or anything, so I can't even help them.
You're forgetting one of the biggest nerfs. They no longer have 7 attacks.
Oh, yeah. So apparently there was a typo across the board where they just had, it still shows it here because this isn't updated yet, but they each one had 7 attacks for whatever reason. Like they just had Guardian crews on steroids that just punched the mess out of whatever got close enough. So that's down to 2 attacks, which is kind of funny. Right next to them I have just a squad of Dark Reapers. The Exarch does not have the relic, but he does have Bringer of Death, which basically in the old book was rapid fire, so he gets a second shot with his Reaper cannon essentially. And then last but not least, or actually it's not last, it is also not least, I have a Fire Prism. I figured with Ulthway, you know, I'll have a lot of Guardians for just mass numbers and mass shots. I need 1 or 2 things that can really just hit hard, and Fire Prisms historically are that thing. Now, I had some extra points. I didn't really know what to do with it. I should have given the Storm Guardians the Serpent Shield, Completely forgot about it. But so this guy has Spirit Stones, which double his wounds when it comes to his weapon profile, essentially, like how much he can move and whatever, what have you. And Star Engine, so he has an additional 3 inches that he can move. And I'm hoping that'll make him mobile and lethal, so it gives him a hardy 19-inch movement zone. And just behind it, which is the last thing, is a Webway Gate. Now, this allows me to have units in strategic reserves, and it actually halves their point cost for strategic reserves. So I could have twice as many units in strategic reserves. But anyway, what this allows me to do is I can place it just about anywhere, and then units can come from strategic reserves through it, and they can even come through it in combat. So I can place it like right on an objective, and then if he goes and sits on it, I can literally just pop out and I get him. So yeah, that's my 2,000 points of Aeldari Ulthwé.
Alright, so for mission we got 3-2, which is Death and Zeal. So control 1, control 2, control more. Also, if we're able to take objectives with an OBSEC unit, we don't have to stay there and hold it, so we can basically claim objectives and leave it as long as the unit did it was OBSEC. And Direct Assault, which is the secondary for the mission, it is score 2 points or 3 points if we do both objectives. So if we control every objective marker on the field, we get 2 points, or if we take an objective that we didn't control at the start of the turn, we get 2 points at the end of our turn. And then we also get 2 points, or 3 if we do this along with the first objective, if we destroy at least one enemy unit that was in range of objective marker at the start of the turn. So that's pretty simple. Just be very offensive, keep taking objectives, and keep killing enemy units. Got it. Alright, so for terrain, I won the roll-off to place the first piece. How we do it is we place around 4 pieces each, alternating. So in my mind, essentially what I wanted to do is build a good fort that could block off line of sights from one of the objectives and sort of mirror that out and create potential places where I could run to other locations and be able to be more of a fortress. So blocking line of sight, sight lines, because of my army I need to only fight a small portion of his army at a time ideally, and then slowly erode and just win the battle of erosion. And so it's trying to set up a battlefield that has moving from cover to cover and creating small little castles. That's what I got.
Yeah, so essentially, yeah, I didn't have a huge plan. Not surprising. Basically, I just wanted one main kind of shoot point terrain, and then stuff to just kind of help me run around and do elf shenanigans. And I think that was accomplished.
Alright, so for secondaries, for me, Dark Angels, I'm going to do grind them down. Since I have a very few units, it makes sense. I'll probably outlast him. Basically, I'm going to be a rock, and I'm not going to die, and I'm just going to sit and do nothing. Maybe.
So you think.
And then Stubborn Defiance, which is a Dark Angels thing, where I select an objective in my first command phase, very important to note. And then as long as I hold it for the rest of the game, it compounds and gives me more and more points as time goes on. And then finally, Stranglehold. At the end of my turn, control 3 or more than you. And yeah, and so basically it fits the playstyle, which I didn't really branch fully into because staying back and doing nothing has always been boring, even though that's now the way Dark Angels are meant to be played, at least Deathwing. So that's my objectives.
So mine, because I have so many units, are hopefully going to play to that. So engage on all fronts. I figure you've got very few units, and they're really slow, and I'm basically space elves, so I should be able to zoom around you. So I chose engage on all fronts. And then, again, because I have so many units, raise the banners high. So I could have multiples going in a turn, hopefully. And then the last one is from the Eldar Codex, which is Scry Futures, which is basically a psychic action objective thing. Because, again, I have so many. But yeah, so I'm hoping that with the massive units that I do have, that this will work.
Alright, So my idea first was just to build a castle and put like the vehicles and stuff where they could easily get out. So the dreadnought went first. Also, because of the way things are going, it's mostly me positioning myself to where I can build a castle and then move outwards. So it really is not dependent on my opponent because I really don't have much to counter. And so essentially, I placed my infiltrators where I could probably stop any backwards infiltration. And then apart from that, just my characters down in the middle, granting their buffs, and an apothecary in a relatively simple place. And so the rest is just building the castle around there so I can push out and move forward. And then finally my assassin towards the middle of it. And that's basically it. It really didn't, nothing that my opponent did really mattered. It was just me building my castle, having all the buffs. So at the very beginning, all my squads have their Feel No Pains and their 4-up invulnerable saves from Azrael. And so we're doing good on that department. So that was me.
So for me, yeah, I was basically trying to just stay out of line of sight while, you know, for that, just in case I lose that first turn, because my army is speedy enough that they can basically do what they want. But yeah, so I had my rangers take a forward objective. My webway gate, I realized, has to be 12 inches from his border, his zone. So that changed, because I was just going to slap it right in the middle, you know, but I guess that rule was there for a reason. So now it's all the way on this back objective. But yeah, just because my army is so mobile, I had no trouble putting them behind stuff. And yeah, that was it. Just kind of fire lines and ways that I can move forward and do objectives on, or my secondaries on all these things. So yeah.
Alright, so, well, here's basically what'll happen. If to go first or not, if I go first, it honestly, there's no reason for me not to. Going second is only a, well, it's a, alright, so if I go first, I will clearly move out, rush the objectives, and I will get good points, and I'll begin to build my castle. If I go second, I will take damage, which I will ignore a good portion of it, heal, but I will still be down some people. The only upside is that I will have a far more target-rich environment in the turn if I go second, but ultimately he's presented enough bodies where that's not that big of a deal to me. So if I go second, I'm just going to have a few guys missing, which I'll bounce back from, and I'll have a more target-rich environment, but that's still not as ideal. And going first will basically give me more mobility and stuff to move out and do some more shooting. So that's what'll happen if I go first or second.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same for me, except I'll be able to take most of the objectives, at least the middle and the one where my rangers are at. I mean, I already have that one, but and I'll actually be able to pull off multiple secondary objectives on those, while allowing my shooting units to shoot, because you have some stuff that's just kind of sitting out in the open. So I think in this case, usually, I don't know if it usually matters so much, but in this one, I think going first would be more beneficial. I think that, yeah, I think secondary, I mean, it won't, I guess, you know, nah, I don't know, we'll find out. All right, let's roll.
And whoop.
Got a 5.
Dang it.
All right.
Aeldari turn 1. Alright. Alright, for pre-game, my opponent will not use any of his pre-game abilities, but I will. So for 2 CP, I will swap out my Evisor for the Calexis Assassin. So he has too much Psychers for me to not do this. So he's going to have -2 to all his rolls within 18 inches of the Calexis Assassin. However, I forgot to input his stats into the actual machine thingy, so I can't really give him his stats. I have to read it off something else. So he is now a Calexis Assassin, not an Evisor Assassin.
Alright, you guys, so essentially, I did a lot of moving. In the command phase, I didn't really do anything. Pretty sure I don't have anything to do, actually. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so everything just kind of moved forward. The Farseer and the Warlocks up at the top ran, and these guys did not. I
Ooh.
probably should have. The Farseer and Warlocks at the bottom of the map. Um, the Storm Guardians didn't run. They were able to just sit right on that objective and start an action. These Guardians didn't run. Like, Guardians in the middle area didn't run either, so that way they could shoot. My Fire Prism hopped over into this just giant clear lane. I'm hoping to do some damage there. My D cannons moved up to the wall, and this means they can get shot, but it also means that they don't get the -1 to line of sight. I don't know if they're actually not in range of anything, so it doesn't even matter. And yeah, my Dark Reapers moved up to the front of the wall as well. So basically everything kind of moved forward to try and take objectives and start pulling secondaries, essentially. Alright, you guys, so for my Psychic phase, it was mostly a letdown. The Warlocks behind Eldrad started the Scry Futures? Yes. Secondary. There you go. I couldn't think of the word for the life of me. And then the Farseer and Warlocks at the top were really out of range of everything. There's nothing really useful that they could do. So Eldrad, what he did is he focused his abilities on the Storm Guardians. He gave them both Fortune and Will of Assyrian, so they're going to be pretty hard to kill off, I hope. And then the Farseer all the way at the bottom guided my Dark Reapers because they have just clear line of sight to a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm hoping to kill a whole bunch of stuff. We will see. And yeah, so all around relatively uneventful. Just a lot of, I guess, secondaries going for it. Alright, so essentially I only had a couple of things in range. Squad of Guardians, the Fire Prism, and the Dark Reapers. They all shot at his purple squad, and I managed to kill one.
There's a
Terminator.
bit more to that. You used 2 stratagems on the Guardians who were shooting.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so I used the Oathway specific stratagem, Discipline to the Black Guardian to give them +1 to hit, and Blade Storm, which they have exploding 6s essentially, so each 6 adds an extra shot to hit. They did 1 wound, I think.
1. Only 1.
The Fire Prism did nothing. I used the Disperse Pulse, which was -2 AP. I forgot about the Armor of Contempt again, because I was like, oh, it has 3d3 shots. I'll just do that. But that was a mistake. I should have done the Focus Lance, and that probably would have killed 2 Terminators, maybe. And then the Dark Reaper shot, and 1 wound went through, and it killed another Terminator.
Yeah.
I mean, another one. It finished off the first Terminator.
So, an entire shooting phase, I lost 1. That Armor of Contempt came in clutch. I probably would have lost 2 Terminators, and probably 1 would have had a wound or 2 if it wasn't for that. Like, that's how big of a deal it was. Yeah,
it really added a lot of dependability to Space Marines, and apparently their vehicles as well. So it's gonna be interesting. All right, you guys, so I got a couple of things going on here. Death and Zeal, I got, you said 2 points?
Yeah, it's capped at 2 for taking.
So...
What the? 2. All right.
Interesting. I did get engaged on all fronts, so that's 2 points.
Yeah, the small version.
Yeah, it's not clicking for me.
Huh,
that's weird. Okay, raise the banners high. I got 2 of those, so that's 2. Wait, score 1 victory point at the end of each and 1 victory point at the end of the battle. Okay, so yeah, so I got another 2 here. You'll have to click that for me. And then Scry Futures, I got 3 points.
What?
For the one that I got. So not bad on secondaries. We'll see how we go going into the next couple of rounds, because most of my army is relatively squishy. So yeah, but so far doing okay.
Alright, my command phase and movement phase. So Azrael gave his rerolls to the singular blue squad that's towards the middle objective. So they will reroll to hit and to wound. He's not going to use his Brilliant Strategist because there's really no point at this point in time. Alright then. Now, what's going to happen is, with movement phase, the overall idea is just to push forward. It's all or nothing. We're going to take that center, and we're going to shoot and hold it.
Get ready for a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And then the infiltrators essentially moved out to cover the main base objective. While I did move out the Terminator squad, he can't deep strike anywhere near it, so they're very safe from movement. And but the purple squad can immediately go back if there is trouble right now. And so the one blue squad of Terminators up north moved towards the gate and got the objective. So that's 2 points for me automatically, but I also got the middle objective. So the middle Terminators, they moved, but they were just short because they're 5 inches. So I had them run. Only one of them got in. These Terminators have OBSEC because they're part of the Vanguard detachment, the Deathwing detachment. So I re-rolled that. I got them a 5, and so I got all the squad on it. I moved the Apothecary in just to be very careful. They have 14-inch movement, the Raven Wing Apothecary. The other Terminator squads moved up to support that. The Evosaur Assassin ran. I'm sorry, not Evosaur. The Calexis ran, got a 6, moved up. I could have moved him a bit closer to block their Farseer, but you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm blocking a lot of their psychic ability, so. And then the champion moved up. He's going to try to get into some charges this turn. He moved his full 14. Dreadnought moved up. He's not going to really have any targets, so I'll see how that goes. My characters moved up to give their buffs.
And a pretty empty turn for you, actually.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so for the psychic phase, I used Ezekiel, so I targeted my troops in the very middle, so I think they might get into melee sometime in the next turn, possibly, so I did Righteous Repugnance, which gives them reroll to hit and to wound if they're in melee. That's pretty good. And then I did Smite on the Guardians that are on the middle objective, but he failed that, and because my Calexis Assassin's in the middle, it's -2 to all Psykers, including my own. It was a miracle I got off. I rolled an 11 for that Righteous Repugnance, which turned to a 9, which was I needed. And I needed a 7 for Smite, but I did not roll that, so that's what happened. Alright, so the shooting phase was long and arduous. So I started off with the Venerable Dreadnought, and I fired into the squad of Storm Guardians on the objective. Killed, like, none of them. The Multi-Melta completely missed, and he saved the rest. Then I had the Infiltrators in the back. 3 of them were able to shoot, so they fired their guns. Killed like 1, I think. And then so I then started firing. Like my Raven Wing Apothecary fired with his 2 plasma shots, did nothing. My Raven Wing Champion fired at them, did nothing. And then my Terminators in the middle, the blue ones who received the buff from the Chapter Master reroll, fired, killed a bunch of these Guardians, but 1 survived. So then I had my Calexis Assassin fire his assault weapon at them and did 1 wound, which the person saved because they have a 5-up feel no pain because of their psychic abilities.
Yep.
And then with that, the purple Terminator squad, I split fired. 2 Terminators fired into him to finish him off, because if he dies, then I would get 3 points at the end of the turn for killing a squad that was on an objective as well as taking it in one. And so they fired, and they missed almost all their shots. And the 1 wound that did hit, he used one of his fate dice to autosave it. And so then the rest of the Terminators fired at the Guardians up top, the green squad, and killed 4 of them. And so that was my shooting. A bit lackluster, but it did the job. So we'll see what happens. Alright, so I did not get grind them down because the guy survived that 1 swine. Stubborn Defiance will come into play next turn. Stranglehold I did manage to get, and I did get my Death in Zeal. So that 1 guy living was a total of 4 points. 4 victory points right there. Doc got it that one.
I never would have thought he was going to live, but man, did he live.
So far, that was a real blow. That was 4 points because that 1 little guy didn't die. Well, we'll see what happens, how this game goes. It can go either way, so we'll see.
Well, alright, you guys. So, quick roundup. Command phase, I used Eldritch Storm, which is what this flag is. And so in the psychic phase, each of my Farseers can stoke it, and basically when it comes out, it has huge mortal wound potential for everything within 6 inches. Fun fact. Then in the movement phase, I did a little bit of moving, so the Guardians around the middle, so the green squad of Guardian Defenders and the red squad of Guardian Defenders moved just in line of sight, essentially. My Farseer and Warlock at the bottom moved on to the objective down there, staying outside of the 18-inch Calexis zone, so that way they can do whatever they want to do without impunity, and also do a thing on the zone. The blue squad of Guardians actually moved out from behind, because now that they planted the flag and I have other stuff there, there's really nothing else for them to do there. So they came around to start shooting at some point. At the top, my other Farseer and Warlock squad moved on to the objective, so the Warlock got on so that he's able to do his thing. And then my reinforcements came in, so my Howling Banshees and my Guardian Defenders, which have OPSEC. So I was able to take this objective, giving me the secondary. And my Storm Guardian very defiantly moved onto the platform, so he can take the objective. He's a brave man, or elf thing. Alright guys, so because Eldritch Storm was placed, all 3 of my Farseers boosted it, giving the full 3, they all were successful. My Warlocks next to Eldrad actually smited and killed one of the Purple Squad Deathwing Terminators. The Warlock squad at the bottom was using the secondary Scry Future, and the Warlocks here at the top were able to enhance and drain. I spent the 2 points for Battle Psychers on these Deathwing Terminators, and the Farseer, I used Multifaceted Mind to put Doom on them. Alright, you guys, so a lot went on in the shooting phase, and yet at the same time, nothing went on. So the Rangers took pot shots at Ezekiel, and all failed horribly. And then literally everything else in the middle shot at the purple squad. My Storm Guardian threw a plasma grenade and actually killed a guy, because I think he had 1 wound left, because of all the other shooting. The D cannons, 1 wound got through, and it just melted one guy, sucked him into the warp. The Dark Reapers did nothing. I think 1 wound got through, and he saved it, because their AP is not great. The Guardian Defenders actually did a surprising amount of wounds, considering they essentially had 0 AP. And the Fire Prism killed 1 straight up as well. So taking his squad down from 5 to 1. I'm really hoping to kill him, but I know that I can't necessarily do that like this. I do have my I have others. Never mind, it's not important. And then my Howling Banshees basically pistoled a Deathwing Terminator. I think I got 2 wounds through on that. And then my Guardian Defenders shot, and they did 0 wounds in total. And then my Warlocks actually pistoled and killed 1 of the Terminators, so that was nice. But yes. Yes. So yeah, that was my shooting phase all in all. Alright guys, so essentially my Banshees charged. I had the option to have them start in combat, but I wanted to try and take some pot shots at them before I got them in. But anyway, so I rolled like a 9, and so the Banshees were just super in. And so they were able to fully surround the unit. And hopefully murder them. Alright you guys, so the Banshees got buffed in the new book, and man did they deliver. I was a little skeptical, but the Banshee with Mirror Swords, with the Exarch ability giving her the +1 attack, means that she swings with 10 attacks, and they had +1 to hit, they had the reroll wounds, they had +1 to wound on the charge apparently. Like, they just mass damage. However, the Banshee Exarch only actually did 2 wounds out of her 10 attacks. It was kind of pathetic. But the Howling Banshee squad did 11 damage, wiping out what was left of the squad, so they were actually quite lethal. So we'll see if that saves them in the future though. But yeah. All right, you guys. So for this turn, points wise, not only do I have at the beginning I held 2 points, so that gave me 2 ticks for my primaries, which is 8 points. I was able to take a zone from him, and I actually destroyed one enemy unit.
All right.
So that's 3 points total.
Yeah, bringing you to 5.
Yep. I got 2 points for engaging all fronts. Was it looking funny?
It keeps subtracting it.
What? Okay. Raise the banners high. I got. Actually, nothing. Oh no, I got 2 points in my command phase for it. So that goes up to 5, and then I was able to do another psychic action, giving me another 3. Right. So far I'm actually doing really well on secondaries, you guys. We will see if this actually carries forward at all. But for now, it looks like I'm doing okay. But of course that is because the majority of its army has not been able to really disseminate itself just yet.
Alright, command phase. Aeldari gave the blue squad that was near the center the reroll to hits. The whatchamacallit. And then the movement phase was Dreadnought pulled in to intercept the Howling Banshees. Ravenwing Champion moved in as well. Aeldari moved in as well. Ezekiel moved in to support buff. The infiltrators that were closest to them moved back to gain a bit of distance. The Terminators, the purple Terminators towards the bottom moved back towards my main super objective to also put support fire into the Howling Banshees. Only one of them has no line of sight. The other Terminators, so because he put like this death ball of death that he can enhance in the psychic phase, so go off in his shooting phase, I moved all my units out. So the blue Terminator squad moved back, and the Evisaur or the Calixis moved out. The Ravenwing Apothecary moved to bring back one of the Deathwing Terminators, so we'll see how that goes. And then and then finally my reserve squad of Terminators dropped in on the bottom right, and we will see how this goes. Alright, so for Psychic Phase, Ezekiel cast Smite on the Howling Banshees. He failed to stop it. It went off despite having -2 from my Calixis, and did 3 mortal wounds, but he saved 2 of them because he had a 5-up save from mortal wounds. Then he tried Mind Wormed, but he failed to roll it. I used a reroll, and I failed that. Alright, the shooting phase actually was very productive for me. A lot of target-rich environment, so let's start off with the big one. The Venerable Dreadnought, which was actually a mistake. I should not have fired with him first. He fired at the Howling Banshees, and with his Heavy Flamer and Multi-Melta, killed a good amount. The problem is my opponent took off all the ones that my purple squad at the bottom had line of sight to, and so basically in the end, I lost one Terminator who could shoot at them. And the rest who could shoot at was in the wood, so -1 to hit. That hurt their shooting heavily, so that was a mistake on my part. And then I just kept mag-dumping them. Aeldari fired, the Ravenwing Champion fired, and my 2 combat squads of infiltrators could fire except for the sergeant of the infiltrator squad on the bottom. And I brought all the Howling Banshees down to 1 Exarch. I'm not going to really deal with that person because they will fail morale. They lost 9 people and leadership 8. So unless he rolls a 1...
It has been my strong suit this last phase.
Oh, shut up. I rolled a ton of crappy saves when I had a 4-up invuln earlier, so we'll see how that goes. And then towards the back, the Deathwing Terminators that Deep Strike fired against the Warlocks, killed 2 Warlocks, did a wound with their exertion, and I just remembered that I had a stratagem for that, but whatever. And then a Ravenwing Apothecary fired at the Green Guardian squad, did nothing. My Evisaur Assassin fired at the 1 Storm Guardian he had in the middle objective, killed it, and no, not Evisaur, Calixis. The Calixis, surprisingly, within 18 inches of a Psyker, their shooting goes from Assault D3 to Assault D6. Really useful. And then, after that, the purple squad that's in the middle, whatever's left of them, constantly being resurrected, fired at the Guardian Defenders. The green squad killed 2 in total. However, my Deathwing Terminator squad, the blue squad, fired entirely on the heavy weapons platforms. The red squad, with their chapter master rerolls, killed almost the entire squad except for one guardian and the heavy weapons platform. So we'll see how morale treats them. And yeah, that was it was an okay cleanup in the end. I only wiped out one squad. I have to wipe out one more squad, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so charge phase. A lot of charges. So the Howling Banshee I was pretty sure was going to die to morale. However, strategically I really wanted to get closer to the main objective up top, and I also wanted to protect my characters and stuff. So the Venerable Dreadnought charged the Howling Banshee, got a 6, got in, and was blocking off line of sight. And then Aezreal, I wanted to charge as well to move him up so he's not useless and to give off his abilities. He rolled a 12, so I made him go on the other side of the Howling Banshee. Hopefully at the end of this, the Venerable Dreadnought will move up and block more line of sight after the fact. And then my Ravenwing champion, I mean, has done literally nothing. It's going to charge these defenders and hopefully wipe them out or cause...
still do nothing.
We'll see. I mean, he has some abilities. And then, lastly, most important charge, or most surprising charge, is the Deathwing Terminators on the side, charging the Warlocks. They needed a 9. They failed. I re-rolled, spent a command point to re-roll. I deleted the dice, which is Tabletop Simulator's #1 greatest feature for TTS, deleting dice. I re-rolled, and I rolled a 10. So they got in, and we're going to see how this goes. Alright, so the idea was to use the Banshee as a springboard to get to the top. So Aezreal swung first because I want the Dreadnought to get closer to the objective, and hopefully we kill it so the Dreadnought would get a 3-inch pile in, and then the 6-inch consolidation move towards the top. The Banshee survived every one of Aezreal's swings because of that 4-up invulnerable save. Then the Dreadnought swung, and my opponent saved all of them except one using a fate dice, and successfully they did die. He saved 3 of them in the end. And so the Banshee was killed because it's damage 3 from the Venerable Dreadnought, even though it has 3 wounds, so the Dreadnought was able to move towards the objective. He can't take it, but he's blocking, he's protecting Aezreal with, from his, not bodyguard, but like lookout sir kind of stuff. Then the Ravenwing champion swung, killed everyone in the squad except for one guy, who when he swung back did absolutely nothing. And then my Terminators on the bottom swung, and they completely killed the Warlock squad before all of them could swing. And then they piled into the Farseer and the Rangers, who each of them did 1 wound to my Terminators, which they immediately saved. So that that went a long way. It was pretty good.
All right. So green guy, ready? Nice. Here we go. Needs a 1. No, he's dead. And then red guy needs a 1.
Oh my god!
Look at that. All right. So green guy goes. Red guy stays. He's brave.
Alrighty then. Alright, so I controlled 1, I controlled 2. I wiped out a squad that was near the, on the objective scoreable, so I did get one of the Death and Zeals by, well, death. And then grind them down, I killed the Banshee squad, and I killed the green squad in the end, so I did get... grind them down this turn. Stubborn Defiance, the first turn it goes through, I gain 2 points. Stranglehold. I do not have this, so I just needed to. I just need to kill a few Rangers, and then that'll be mine. And so far, I am lagging behind, but
yep.
On a positively, I'll say slow and steady wins the race. I will slowly snowball into something bigger. So we'll see how this goes.
Alright, you guys, so my red squad moved proudly forward onto the objective. I believe I actually took the objective since I have 2 things, and they're both objectives secured. But anyway, blue squad also marched on forward. The D cannon scooted a little farther back, and this way to better reach. The Farseer and the Rangers moved out of combat. And then the Fire Prism scooted over, and the Guardians and the Warlocks and the Farseer over here on the Webway Gate just scooched themselves forward to see what it is we're about to do here. But yeah, pretty simple movement. Yeah. Alright, you guys, so Aeldari did a couple of things. One, he used Executioner on the purple squad. He did 2 mortal wounds. That was nice. And then he smit the Ravenwing champion, doing 3 wounds.
He would have done a d6, but he was in range of the Calexis assassin, and that reduced it by 2, so he didn't get a super smite off.
Correct. And then the warlocks tried to smite, but they just rolled like garbage.
And the Calexis finally paying dividends.
Yes. The warlock is... these guys were doing the... what is it called? Scry Futures secondary, so they're just chilling out. The Farseer was able to put Guide on the Guardian Defenders, though, which is nice. So, yeah, that was my psychic phase. Alright, you guys, so for shooting, it's kind of a mixed bag. But starting with the D cannons, they shot at his red Terminators that deep striked. They were able to kill 2 of them off, just straight up. And then, what happened next? Red squad shot at the Ravenwing champion. They did nothing, which was unfortunate. And then the blue squad finished him off with the Guardian's last 2 shots. Managed to kill him. He failed both of the saves. The Fire Prism shot his Shuriken catapults at the Ravenwing champion and also failed to do any damage. But his main cannon, which I boosted with a Fate die, did manage to obliterate the Venerable Dreadnought. He did not explode though, which was unfortunate. Then my Purple Guardian squad shot at Aezreal, and with all of their shots was only able to pull off 3 damage. Extremely unfortunate, and we will see how that plays out for them later. I think you know exactly how that's going to work out. And then the Dark Reapers shot at his back infiltrators, and they also rolled garbage, only killing 2. So yeah, all in all, a pretty kind of blah shooting phase. Alright, you guys, so for points, I'm actually doing quite well for myself. I got the full 3 primaries. I got the full 3 points for Death and Zeal. I got 2 points on Engage in All Fronts, 2 points for Raise the Banners, and then 3 points for Scry Futures. So that was nice.
Alright, so this moving phase is trying to shore up and get the points. I really need to focus on that. So at the bottom, I'm going to try to mag dump that squad on the other side. So the infiltrators on the bottom moved up so that that whole squad can shoot. The Terminators on there are also moving up to be able to shoot. The Terminators on the blue Terminator squad, which has been MVP so far, is moving up. They're 5 inches because that's all they can move to just shoot everything they can. Ezekiel's just going to hide. I just need him to not drag me down from my points. And so my Terminators on the bottom right, the red squad, is not going to move, so they get +1 to their shooting. The Calexis Assassin, I need him to perform better, so I'm moving him up to attack the Farseer that's over there. He's still within range of the other Warlocks blocking them. The Apothecary stayed where they were and gave me, healed up my Deathwing Sergeant to full and gave me another Terminator there. So that squad has been killed twice over, but they're still trucking. And yeah, and Aezreal moved up to die fighting, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so the shooting phase, a bit lackluster, but... So, what did I start with? Shoot, what did I start with? So my Terminators at the bottom fired at the, whatchamacallit, the Rangers that were there, but because they didn't move and they were in the forest, they hit them on 2s because of the Dark Angels and trait. And so they just obliterated the Rangers in their entirety. Then I had the Evasaur move up to shoot at the Farseer and did absolutely nothing. She saved them all, even with his enhanced powers against Psychers. And the Deathwing squad in the middle fired at the blue squads, did almost nothing. The big squad of Terminators, the blue squad in the middle, fired at the squad up top. Barely, well, they killed a lot more, but they didn't get the Chapter Master reroll this turn, so they were a lot less effective. And then on the left side, the Infiltrator squads all mag dumped into the Guardians, but because the gate apparently gives them like light cover and stuff, they all survived pretty well. And even as Aezreal fired into them, barely killed anyone. The Terminator squad on the bottom fired into them, barely killed anyone. They barely lost anyone, so that was very disappointing. Well, we'll see how things go. Alright, so Aezreal charged the Guardians at the point. They overwatched, did 2 wounds to him, and he saved them both on his 4-ups. Then the Terminators on the bottom charged the one Farseer. They needed a 6. They rolled double 1s. I didn't re-roll it because I had other combats that were much more important, and I could possibly let this slide. Then I had the Calexis Assassin charge the Farseer. Made it. Had the purple squad in the middle charge the heavy weapons platforms there. They made it. And then, you know what? To move my soldiers up, I had the blue squad charge it just cause, you never know. And they needed a 7 and they made it. So that went very well. Alright, there's a pretty good fight phase. So, alright, I completely forgot what happened. So Aezreal swung first against the Guardians, and he did a total of 7 wounds total. 6 were from his weapon, but he gives 1 mortal wound on a wound roll of 6 in melee. And my opponents magically needed 6s to survive, and he rolled 3 6s, and the squad survived to the dot. If he would have failed all of those, the whole squad would have been wiped. That sucks. And then at the bottom, the Calexis Assassin swung on the Farseer, did exactly 2 wounds to her, and he failed both of them on the 4-up. And won't save. Then the purple squad in the middle swung on those guys, wiped them out, and so they consolidated forward, and then the blue squad consolidated 3 inches as well towards the enemy, and that was a very important turnaround. Alright, it happened so fast we didn't think anything big would happen, but in the morale phase, Aezreal's defenders, or the defenders he was fighting with, failed the morale and lost 1 guy, but the squad where my marker is over here, they failed their morale, and then when he rolled for attrition, he rolled all 1s, and so the entire squad was wiped out. This really puts me ahead right now. Alright, so for points, I controlled 1, controlled 2. I'm not doing good there, but I gained the full 3 points. I got 2 points for taking a new objective, which was the bottom right objective, where my Terminators cleared them out. They have OBSEC, and then they wiped out his OBSEC units entirely. So I took a new objective, and I wiped out a unit on the objective, so I get the full 3 this turn. For grind them down, I, at the end of it, successfully killed, well, because of morale, 3 more units? Yeah, morale saved me there. Stubborn Defiance multiplies. I now get 3 points for Stubborn Defiance. Or at least I think so. I keep forgetting how this actually works. I know next turn I should be getting a lot more. And then Stranglehold, I now have 3 objectives. My opponent does not. So I, at the end of my turn, gained 3. And yeah. So far, it really is beginning to snowball towards me. I'm just out enduring him, and we'll see how things go.
Alright, you guys, so essentially my D-cannons moved up to the front for direct line of sight, and my Guardians fell back from combat, and that was basically it. Alright, you guys, so for my Psychic phase, I tried a whole bunch of stuff, but I only got 1 smite off on Aezreal, essentially. Which did 2 wounds.
He was able to dispel the first one with his Watcher in the Dark once per game, and on the second one he passed and did 2 mortal wounds. So Aezreal has only 1 left.
Yeah. Alright, Psychic phase. Alright, you guys, so for shooting, I tried to use some pistols on Aezreal, so my Warlocks and Farseer, to no avail. And then literally everything else shot at the purple squad, and I killed all 3 of them, finally. So after killing the squad 2 or 3 times over, they were finally all actually dead. Yeah, so the Warlocks charged, and they made it. And so now they're here to fight Aezreal to the death. Alright, you guys, so for combat, literally nothing happened.
Well, a little more detail than that. So he swung on me, and we had to quickly look up the rules of what he has. Always wound on 2. I have transhuman, so we had to find out the wording. Transhuman wins on that wording. Says no weapon or thing, irrespective of any ability. And so I had to roll 1 save, and I made it on a 6, even though I only needed 2. And then Aezreal, getting 6 attacks for a first swing, missed like 2, and then he missed all the other ones to wound. 4 1s onto wound. He did nothing. Literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
God, that was sad.
It was quite shameful. Alright, you guys, so for this turn, it was pretty uneventful. I had the hold 1, hold 2 for my primaries, and then I literally just got 1 passive point for raise the banners. And that was it. I didn't get engaged on all fronts, and I didn't have a chance to do any of the Scry futures, and I didn't get Death and Zeal, so pretty unfortunate.
Alright, so for movement, my purple squad is moving up towards the north. Ezekiel's moving up to gain line of sight on certain targets and such. The Evasaur assassin is also moving up to try to intercept. The Terminators on the bottom are just sitting. Or yeah, Calexis. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. And then the Deathwing Terminators are moving towards the Fire Prism. We'll see how that goes. So, alright, Psychic Phase. Things went very good for me. So with Ezekiel being able to see the Terminator squads in the middle, the blue squad hit them with Righteous Repugnance, which in melee will give them reroll to hit and wound. Very important. And then Ezekiel targeted the Farseer that's in the middle of the top objective with Smite. He got off a Super Smite. My opponent couldn't stop it. And I did 5 mortal wounds, which my opponent immediately saved 2 of them, so this person lived with a 5-up feeling of pain for mortal wounds. Alright, a pretty straightforward shooting phase. I've completely forgotten what I shot. So, my purple squad of Terminators mag dumped the 2 Guardians that were up there to gain 2 points, because if I destroy a unit that's on the objective, I will gain points for the side objective, and they completely wiped out the squad. Then, my blue squad in the middle fired at the Dark Reapers, but apparently they had a 2-up armor save because of the cover, but I still managed to kill 2 of them, even though they all mag dumped and the assault cannon completely missed. And my Ravenwing Apothecary fired at the Fire Prism, did 1 wound with his plasma guns. So, give and take. Alright, so for the charge phase, very big charges. So I started with the most important one, which was the Terminators charging the Fire Prism, charging the hull. I only needed a 3, got a 6, made it in. And then I wanted to support Azrael, so I charged with Ezekiel, and he made it on a 9. He needed like an 8. Then I had the Deathwing Terminators charge as well. They needed a 10. They did not make it. So I saved the CP. I wasn't going to re-roll it. And then I forgot my Calexis Assassin is going to charge. Now, you may not be able to see it, but there's Eldred Ulthred under the ruins, and I needed a 7. I needed really a 6, but I needed a 7 to be able to clear through the terrain wall, be able to park next to him. And I made it on a 7 exactly to be able to reach him. Alright, so for fight phase, I started off with my Calexis Assassin swinging on Uldred because I can't see him underneath there, and so we'll start with him just in case I forget. And he successfully did 1 wound. Absolute flop. Then I moved over to the Terminator swinging on the Falcon. Now they had reroll to hit and wound because of Righteous Repugnance, and it turned out incredible. The Sergeant swung and did no damage. Then the Power Fist guys, 3 of them swung with 9 attacks. They get +1 on the first round of combat. They did 16 damage to it. Absolutely wonderful. If it wasn't for the Righteous Repugnance, they would have probably done only 4 or 5. Like, it really swung hard, that reroll. And then Ezekiel swung and killed a few of the Warlocks. And then finally he swung back. His Warlock swung on Azrael. They did 4 wounds. I made sure to roll it as miserably as possible to elongate it. He failed 1 wound. I spent my 1 last CP to reroll it, and he survived. Azrael survived, then turned around and finished off the entire Warlock squad. And then he swung back with Eldrad and did 2 wounds to my Calexis Assassin. And that was combat. It really swung in my favor now for clearing out all these huge squads. Alright, so I controlled 1, controlled 2, controlled more. I killed the unit of Warlocks that was on objective, so that's 2. And I took that objective now that I have 2 models on it to his 1. So that gives me 3 points total. So I'm at 10 with Death and Zeal. Grind them down. I killed 2 units this turn. That beat him, so I got 3. Stubborn Defiance is now paying massive dividends. I now gain 5 points for having it in a row. And Stranglehold, I now have more objectives than my opponents in the end, and I gain 3. And that is a major swing. Alright, we decided to call it there. The points are swinging more in my favor. My opponent only has a Farseer and just 1 objective with just a few guys on it. And so, we're calling it there in favor of the Dark Angels for victory. Yay! Alright, MVP, LVP. So I have some runners-up for MVP. Apothecary, for bringing back so many members of the squad. And Purple Squad, for surviving and being killed many times over, but just living through and being a brick. But as good as they were, a true MVP is going to have to be the Blue Terminator Squad, because it had the highest kill count in the game and it was slaughtering almost everything. It probably had, like, I think around maybe 25 Guardians in total, and it had the Falcon completely destroyed. So there are a lot of things that really did contribute well. Yeah, the Fire Prism, yeah. Like, the Infiltrators did a wonderful job of sitting back, keeping out screening units and stuff, but I'm going to give it to these guys because they just had a massive kill count. And now for my LVP, I'm going to have to give it to the Calexis Assassin. Simply put, he was more against me than he was against you. Only at the very end did he start finally being useful, because he neutered Ezekiel's psychic ability as well. It kept being too close on the early game, and so he actually was hurting me for the first 2 turns of the game. And then finally, towards the end, he finally was only targeting you. Like, the first turn, he only nerfed me. All your psychics were out of range. So
yeah, first 2 turns.
Yeah, first 2 turns. And so only at the very end did he start doing stuff. And in the end, he was just getting weak. I mean, he killed the Farseer. Very useful, very helpful. But, like, nah, if it was an Evisor Assassin, he would have gotten behind enemy lines. He would have cleared out a whole objective from the squishy guys. And I would not have weakened Ezekiel's psychic stuff. So he is the LVP. He hurt me heavily. Alright. So what was yours?
Well, I would say my MVPs were the Howling Banshees. They really only lived for 1 turn, but in that 1 turn, they wiped an entire squad of Terminators. So that was nice. Their buffs are actually quite a lot of damage, but then they just got shot to death, so that was not so great. But you know, they did a lot of damage. The unit that probably did the worst was the Dark Reapers, with the transhuman only wounding on 4s, which was problematic across the board. Their AP -2 against the Armor of Contempt against Terminators was essentially garbage. So, and then the one time they shot against a normal Space Marine, they failed so many shots. So I would say they were probably the LVP. They didn't really do a whole lot, I would say. And by I would say, I mean, like, they probably literally did, other than the Space Marines against the Terminators, probably 2 wounds across the entirety of the game. So not super great. I also really like the Webway Gate. That was actually kind of nice. It helped me literally just drop a huge chunk of troops right on an objective, and could have been right into combat if I didn't want to shoot at them first. So that was actually kind of cool, and it's only 80 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Eldritch Storm ability, I know it cleared all your stuff out of there for a little bit, but I don't know if that actually helped anything. And it was a lot of command points. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that one was worth it.
You placed it exactly. If you placed it exactly in the dead center of the objective, I would have been forced to completely abandon the objective if I didn't want to get hurt. So placing and stuff. So you could have considered it like that.
Yeah, but I mean, there weren't really any. It's not like there was a choke point nearby or anything. It was just this wide open area. So
yeah, with that stuff, like with the orbital bombardment that Space Marines have, that's more of the tactical effect it'll have on enemies is more important than the actual thing itself, moving enemies. So overall in this game, Armor of Contempt is one of the strongest things I've seen. Incredible. Very powerful. It really made a massive difference. I kept a lot of my squads alive, made Terminators so much more tougher. Didn't need to bring Storm Shields, so that's pretty good, just in trading. And also helped my Raven Wing guys survive more. Overall, I was just the slow rock of Deathwing Terminators, slowly grinding forward, slowly outlasting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some bum rolls though with my like D cannons and the fire prism and stuff.
I had a
so
similar thing
great
early
either.
on where one squad was just getting wiped because I could not roll a 4-up save at all.
Yeah.
So I had that problem earlier, but yeah. So overall, very interesting. Yeah, armor contempt is a big buff, but don't worry, Tyranids will make sure that that doesn't work at all or matter. Yeah.
We
All right.
shall see.
In time. Alright, GG's, GG's. Well, everyone, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for enjoying our game. And if you're still here, like the video if you like the video, share it if you want to share it, comment if you want to comment, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.